When we go salmon fishing, we're so close to home, we want to bring them back and process them here. But we needed a water hose. In this video, see how Jay built us an outdoor water system.
In 2023, we moved to Alaska to fulfill our dream of a better quality of life. Follow along as we transform our few acres of Alaskan off-grid virgin land into our dream homestead.
We are Jay and Elaine, and this is Alaskan Freedom.
Got a 55-gallon drum. First thing we got to do is drill a hole in it so we can put in the bulkhead where the water will come out of it, where we can hook up the hose. So got to get a hole in this thing in the right place. I don't know, there's probably like a reason you shouldn't put it too close to the bottom, so we are going to put this up just high enough. It's not right at the bottom, but it's pretty close to it. And then this screws in. One piece goes on the inside and one piece on the outside. That just threads together. I don't think this takes any additional sealant. It has like a rubber washer on the inside. If we tighten this up enough, I'm hoping that's all it takes to not leak. This will be sitting outside, so if it does leak, it's not the end of the world, but I am going to be hauling water this bin. I'm not going to be using rainwater, even though this is just outside water for hose, but we're going to be using it for just basic things like spraying things down, fish cleaning station we'll have outside, things like that. So sometimes the water will be sitting there for weeks at a time. I don't want it all leaking out, but we're going to try that. The complicated part of this is going to be getting this piece inside the tank and down to where it needs to go in. So let's figure that out. So before we've even really started, we've run into our first problem. The bulkhead that I've got is a 3/4 inch bulkhead, and it comes apart. This half needs to go inside and stick out, and then this screws over it. The problem is this thing is so big, it doesn't fit into the barrel with the opening that it has. So we're going to have to make a bigger opening on the top of the barrel. You know, this isn't drinking water. It doesn't need to be that perfect and that clean. So I guess what we'll do is we'll cut a hole in the top of the barrel bigger than that, slightly bigger than that, enough that we can get it in there and install it, and then cover that hole, maybe use some JB plastic weld and get a piece of plastic and just kind of cover that back up, or maybe just set something over it and use that as the way to fill it in the future. We'll figure that out as we go, but for now we just got to get that hole cut so we can get that piece inside and get it installed. So we're going to have to cut a hole in the top to put that in, and then cut a hole in the side where it's actually attached and coming out. So here we go. Now the idea is to, the little pieces of plastic from cutting those holes that got inside of the tank, we're going to put a little water in there and swish it around and just try to get as much of that out as we can real quick, just so it's not going down the line and clogging up the eventual filter that will be in line with this thing. It actually did a good job. The part that seems complicated, it actually is not, is getting this piece, getting the inside piece of the bulkhead on. We're going to do that using a string. So what's going to happen is we're going to run a string from here. Let me show you. We're going to run a string down through here and then out here at the bottom. And this will be on the inside sticking out. And then this will just drop down on that string and that'll guide it into place. And then we can kind of shimmy it right where it needs to be, pull it out, put this part on, screw it together, and then pull the string out. And you thought that would be hard. Didn't even have to cut the twine off the roll. Yeah, I'm cheap. Got this bulkhead installed. So far just kind of lightly hand tightened it. I am going to use a pipe wrench to tighten it, but I'm not tightening it very tight. This is just slightly more than what would be considered hand tight, just to give it an extra twist so that it'll squish that rubber washer on the back side of this. But this whole thing is plastic, so I don't really want to overdo it and break it. This is an overkill wrench, but that's all I got. After getting it hand tight, I think I did about almost 3/4 of a full turn afterwards. That rubber washer in the back there is really thick. It's about a full 1/8 of an inch or even thicker. So hopefully that's compressed in enough now where it's not going to leak from inside. And now the next thing we're going to do inside of this hole, we are going to come out with this valve. So we're going to put some Teflon tape on here and put this valve in, and then that's what the hose will hook to. And Teflon tape going with the threads. 3 wraps. Should be plenty. And then we'll do the same thing as we did with the plastic on here. We're going to hand tighten this. And then once it's hand tight, we'll use this pipe wrench to just tighten it to the position we want it. Or maybe not. Maybe we'll only hand tighten this. That's about where I want it right there. I don't want it pointing down because then the hose will be too hard to hook up. I want it pointing to the side so it's easy to hook the hose up and still get at this valve. I was actually hoping to put a half turn valve on this, or whatever they call it, where it only turns I guess a quarter of a turn or something, quarter stop, I think they call that valve. But I couldn't find one, so I had to buy this valve. Maybe this is better because I can open and close it at different lengths, but it just takes longer to unscrew that than just a little quarter stop valve and screw it back in. So that's all we're doing to the barrel. The next step now is to get the pump hooked up, get all the right fittings on the pump. So the pump we're using is a 110 volt 1 amp max 3.3 gallon per minute seaflow pump. This is made for like RVs or boats that have the little sinks in them, but we're going to use it today for pumping out water from this 55-gallon drum into a hose with a spray nozzle on it to use for outside. Now, hopefully this works. I have no idea. I don't have any reason to think it does or doesn't. We're just going to try it. But what we'll do is, this type of pump runs, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm learning about this stuff, but I believe it's just called like a dry pump. It does not need to be primed. So the basic idea is the direction of flow of water, which it doesn't show. Why wouldn't it show that? Pretty sure it's either this way or this way. On one end, whichever the water is coming from, will be the filter. And then I have this fitting here that is for a water hose. And then on the other side is the same thing as a fitting that goes for the water hose. So just basically, you can't see that, can you? Just be like that. And then there will be a water hose that goes from the 55-gallon drum to here. And then another one that comes out here with a spray nozzle on the end, so we can just spray it. And whenever there's the demand for the water, when you're pulling that spray nozzle, it should kick this on and turn it on. And then I will just have this plugged in to an extension cord into the, I'll just have this plugged into the inverter inside the shed. And then mount this in some kind of, probably like a landscaping box, so I can keep this little box outside. And if you've seen like the sprinkler boxes they use to hide sprinkler valves underground, probably have it in something like that, or maybe just a small plastic container or something with holes cut in it, so I can leave it outside. But we'll worry about dressing that up and cleaning it up once this thing actually works. Got 10 gallons of water in there now, which is just enough to bring it up a few inches above where the bulkhead is. So that's enough water in there where I can test it now without it getting too heavy in case it doesn't work and I have to move it around. So let's hook up the hoses to the pump and see what happens. Now let's plug it in. Well, the pump is running. I got some long hoses. You can hear air and vibration coming out of this end of the hose, so let's see. Probably help if I open the bulkhead. dummy. Too much hose. It works. Hey babe, are you proud of me? I can't believe it actually worked. I think I got the camera wet. Okay, we're back. So, using this pump, I have two hoses hooked up to it that are probably way too long, but I'm going to tell you why in a second. The first hose that goes from the 55-gallon drum to the pump is a 100-foot hose. These are 5/8 inch standard garden hoses. And then the second hose is a 50-foot hose, the one that goes from the pump to the spray nozzle. Here's why those are so long, because if this works, seems to be so far, I plan on using this to pump water from my large water container that I haul behind the Jeep on the trailer all the way up to the house. Up till now, I have been carrying all the water up in 7-gallon jugs, 7 gallons at a time. And we've only been hauling up we probably haul about 60 gallons a week. So it's not a lot, it's not a big deal. Twice a week I go out and get a few of those containers, 4 of those containers full. And then another 5-gallon jug that we also use. But coming up, once we finish the kitchen and have a full-time sink in there, it'll probably get used more. And then also, once we have the shower hooked up, we'll be using that more. And we have a 100-gallon tank that is going inside the cabin. And then I have a 250-gallon tote that I can take to the fire department and fill up for free. So to get the water from that 250-gallon tank up to the 100-gallon tank, I plan on using this system. And if anybody's watched our videos in the past, our driveway is 100 feet from our cabin. So I needed the 100-foot hose just to get the water from the big IBC down in the driveway all the way up to the cabin. And then from the pump, I need a 50-foot hose to go from where the pump will be through the cabin to the water storage in the cabin. This pump, I think it was 4 gallons a minute. I'm filling up a 100-gallon tank. Take about 20-25 minutes to fill it up. And we'll never let it get empty, so we'll probably just let it get about halfway and then top it off. So this is going to make getting water and filling water a lot easier for us. The only thing is, this is working right now, sitting on level ground. The driveway is about probably, let me guesstimate, probably about 7 foot lower than the cabin. It's downhill to our driveway. So I'm hoping that this works just as good pulling it uphill, but I don't see why it wouldn't. And maybe worst case scenario, maybe it's not pumping the full 4 gallons a minute because it's pumping at such a long distance. So maybe it will actually take longer, but someday in the future we'll test that out. But for now, I have a working water hose outside, and I'm super excited about that for 2 reasons. For one, I can kind of rinse things off outside. For instance, I got an outdoor plastic table that we use for picnics and stuff like that. Now I can just rinse it off with a spray hose. I can use a hose for anything like you would a garden hose, but most importantly, I can now clean our fish out here. I can bring out our fish cleaning station, have it outside, so when we catch salmon and we've got to process 5 to 10 fish at a time, which is all we ever will be doing, now we can just set up outside. I have the hose where I can spray off the table, keep everything clean, and process them, get everything clean and out of here so that we're not attracting bears, because we don't want to leave fish particles, anything smelling and unclean around, because that will bring the bears in. And not that we don't like the bears, but we prefer that they're not hanging out at the house. And then I'll have the 100-foot hose coming off of that, so I can move that to wherever I want, plus the extra 50-foot hose. So we really got a lot of range that we can be using this sprayer with. So big upgrade for a dry cabin. And in case you're wondering, this is actually the same system that we're going to do inside the cabin for the plumbing. There's going to be, as I mentioned earlier, a 100-gallon tank in there. And I've got another one of these pumps. It is a little bit bigger. It's still 110 volt, Instead of like 1 amp, it's like 1.2 amps or something, and it is 55 psi rather than 40, 5 gallons a minute rather than 4, but basically the same thing. So, you know, knowing that this worked out, that's obviously going to work too, the system that I kind of had in my mind. And I'm very excited that this all worked, because this isn't a system that I watched another video or have experience with. I just kind of threw this together in my head based on how I think RV systems work, and bought one of these pumps online and tried it, and thank God it worked. Even though I'm sure lots of other people did this, I didn't take the time to see how somebody else did it. Kind of did it on my own. So if you do see something that I've done wrong here, or something that would make it better, let me know. I would love to hear it in the comments.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.